Let me ask you Jews something, and when I say Jews, I mean people in Israel or Jewish communities, actual physical Jews. Let me ask you something. Where are your Levites? Where are your priests? When was the last time you performed an atonement sacrifice, or anybody performed an atonement sacrifice on behalf of the people? Here's another question. How do you know that your sins are covered if you haven't performed any of these sacrifices, if nobody has on your behalf? Here's another question. How do you have the bravery and the foolishness to call yourself God's people when you will not walk in God's ways nor obey Him? You say you're Jews. You say you follow the law. You say that you're God's people. You follow Hashem. And you perform all these things. And you have your cultural heritage. But what is the purpose of your faith? You do not follow what God has told your forefathers to do. You spit in Moses' face, in God's face, by even calling yourself God's servants when you do not adhere to the very thing you say you adhere to. You say you're under the law, but you don't obey it. You don't keep it. I mean, even if you try to obey it, you wouldn't be able to. Do you think the blood of a goat or a cow or a turtle dove can really truly forgive your sins? But let's, for the sake of argument, let's just assume that it will. Somehow the blood of some mindless animal can atone for your sins, even though it can't. Let's just assume it can. When was the last time anybody has performed any of these sacrifices on the people's behalf? Oh, thousands of years ago? Okay, well, how do you know you're forgiven? Because under the law, you have to perform these sacrifices or you are cut off from your people. You say you're Jews. You say that you are the children of Jacob, but you do not walk in the ways that God has given you to walk in. And neither are you able to. Here's something to think about. The true reason why Yeshua the Messiah, yes, I know, Yeshua the Messiah, that name that you think is a curse, he actually is the Messiah of Israel. The reason why we Christians don't perform sacrifices is because we don't have to. We have our sacrifice. We have our atonement. But even if you do not listen, and I understand many of you are not going to listen. I get that. There's a lot of bad history with what we personally call false Christianity. But there's a lot of bad blood there. There's a long history of persecution. I get that. But let's just look at one thing. When was the last time that your people had an atonement sacrifice? So you have no forgiveness. You live your whole lives condemned because you do not follow the law. But you're not even able to keep the law, even if there was a temple, and even if there were Levites, and even if there were descendants of Aaron. Do you seriously think the blood of a cow can forgive your sins? Do you think that any amount of sacrifices can truly cover your sins? 10,000 rivers of oil, all of the animals of the earth can sacrificed, cannot possibly forgive one single transgression. Do you think that the sacrifices actually cover sins? The sacrifice is a prophecy. That's all the sacrifices are, is a prophecy. It's a prophecy that's been fulfilled. It is a law that has reached its fulfillment. It's been done. Our sacrifice has been given. Look to your Messiah. Your Messiah died for sins as a sacrifice because the blood of cows and goats and birds cannot forgive sins. Only the blood of a human that is absolutely perfect, not born in sin, can possibly atone for the sins of another human that is sinful. How can an animal atone for a human sin? Only a human can atone for a human sin, and that human must have no sin in order to atone for the sins of another. Otherwise, he dies for his own sin. This is just basic legality.